So next up to the stage, I'd like to invite Susan, and I'm sure a lot of you know the beginning of the story for women in the Volvo Ocean Race, or as it was, the Whitbread Round the World Race. I'm not going to tell it, Susan's going to tell it, and she is the new skipper of Maiden, the first ever all-female boat in the Volvo Ocean Race.
Okay, so I'm Susan Glenny. I'm the new skipper of Maiden. I work for the Maiden Factor.org. I'm also the founder of the Sirens all-female race team and a more commercial team called Team Tigress, and I'm a commercial ocean yacht master and a yacht master instructor. So this picture for me is one of the most iconic pictures in sailing that I've remembered throughout my life. This is 1990, from the video when Tracy sailed Maiden back into the Solent after they'd finished second in the 1990 Whitbread Round the World Race. And in 1990, this is a picture of Tracy on the boat that day, and this is a picture of me. And I was terrible haircut, I know. I was about 13 or 14 at this time. And I remember a few weeks prior to this, my dad, I'd been at home with my dad, and I had sailed when I was younger. I came from Amersham, which is like about as far away from the sea as you can get. We were members at Cook and Reach Sailing Club. I sailed a Merlin Rocket with my dad. And about this time, we'd moved up to sailing on the east coast of the country in Felixstowe. I just started sort of sailing a topper by myself, and I remember my dad saying, Suze, come and look, there's something on the television. This woman is absolutely incredible. She's sailing in the Whitbread race and they've just won a leg. And I watched Tracy, like we saw her in the video there, being interviewed. And we'd never seen a woman speak like this before in sailing, and I've got goosebumps thinking about it now. And I remember watching the television thinking, I want to be like that woman, and I want to do something as groundbreaking as this. Back from that, I sort of got the bug and I set my path on getting my day skipper, and once I got that, met some people on that course who were doing some racing, and I quickly started doing a lot of racing in the Solent. Absolutely got hooked. And at the same time, I had a corporate career, which I'd done from university. Worked in the pharmaceutical industry. I was a head of marketing by this stage at Sanofi Aventis, and was quickly being drawn to spending all of my spare time and holidays sailing or doing courses or what have you. And I got up to a yacht master and subsequently cruising instructor, and I was actually sort of working on a part-time basis teaching courses for RYA schools and doing a lot of racing. And I was racing on some really, really good boats and had some fantastic opportunities to race as a part of 12 people. And you know, for all of us in here who race as part of a team, that feeling that you can have when you execute a manoeuvre between 12 of you or 18 of you or however many, when it all goes absolutely perfectly and you win, or even if you don't win but you meet your expectation that day, is just an amazing feeling. And at the same time, I observed how few women we have in this sport, and particularly how few women we see in sort of some of the back of the boat jobs, or it's very often common to see people on the bow or in the pit or what have you, but if you haven't come from a really strong sailing background, there's not the push to get into the kind of the more tactical roles at the back. And so I decided I wanted to do something about that. Well, in 2007, very unfortunately, my mother died very, very suddenly, totally without warning. Didn't get to talk to her, and she was 63, and it was really a life-changing moment for me. And during that year afterwards, I read Dee Kafari's book, Against the Flow, and there were a lot of similarities in that story, and it made me realise that life is really, really short, and you have to take those opportunities and advantages when you can. You can't stay doing something that you don't want to do or doesn't fulfil you. And so I took the decision to leave the pharmaceutical industry and work full-time in sailing. So after that, I decided I wanted to do something for women in sailing. And so I did the thing that all people do that's really sensible, and I sold my house and bought a boat. I had two other girls here, Jenny and Katie, in with me with that. We bought a Reflex 38 between the three of us, and I set up the Sirens race team. And I know Hannah's stayed all there, come and race a tactician for us a few times, and we opened up some opportunities just for people to step up into sort of a 40-foot arena. If you didn't own a boat, or you didn't have a guy owner who would get you to come and drive the boat for him, or tactician the boat for him, this was an opportunity for people to come and do that. And this was great. This is in the 2015 Fastnet. But I was spending so much time doing this, I realised I wasn't having any time to work for myself or earning any money. So I set up a company alongside this, which was a race charter company, Team Tigress. And what I'm saying is there's no right path to get where you go. But I made this happen, and this hasn't been easy. There's been days sometimes where you've had to empty all the bank accounts to pay to get the boat back across to get on the ship. And it's not the triumphs that makes you, it's the struggles in this game that makes you. You know, but where am I going with all this? Well, basically, all of this, in 1989, I was that little girl that looked at this lady here and said, I want to do something here and make this happen for me. And if I go back to the last picture, on the left-hand side here, that was us exiting the Solent on the Fastnet last year. A fantastic start and squadron end of the line, got a great shift just as we were coming into time, won the line, first out the Solent in class, on helicopter. 2 days later, lost the rig 40 miles from the Fastnet Rock in the middle of the night. Of course it was. And that was an experience in itself. And a week later, after that, I was introduced to Tracy, and I met her in Putney. And I remember sitting across the table and meeting this lady and going, wow, I feel like I've known you all my life, which I feel I have. And we sat and chatted, and it was like looking at a 15-year-old version of myself. And I was sitting talking to her saying, she said, oh, how was the fast now? I said, oh, well, I lost the rig. And she went, oh my God, that must have been awful. And I thought, this is absolutely ridiculous. I'm talking to Tracy Edwards about losing my rig on the Fastnet. And shortly after that, I helped her with a few things around the commercialisation of Maiden and some of the things we had to consider and training for the crew and things like that. And she asked me, she said, well, we don't yet have a skipper for Maiden. Would you consider doing it? And I sat there like, you were talking to me, yeah? And the rest is history. So I've been working on and off for Maiden since November last year. I started officially full-time on the 1st of June. And the boat, as we've seen in the video, is going to conduct a world tour in aid of global education for women, all about. So Maiden's currently in HYS, and she doesn't look like that now. She's looking really good. So these are the charities we represent. And the world tour starts in September. This year we've got 5 full-time permanent crew who all come from a very strong racing background. We're not racing, but we are going to have to get our foot down to get round in time. So, but we have the opportunity for people to join for some mile builder legs on all of the legs, and you can do that by applying at info@themaidenfactor.org. As I said, we're 18 stops. Some of the legs are pretty amazing, and the boat is so well set up. She's a brand new boat, and so please take the opportunity and apply.
I'm up here really to talk to you about the Only Girls Afloat programme. We had a bit of a challenge when we looked at everything going on in Wales when we came to our funding application a couple of years ago. And one of the challenges that's posed to us by Sport Wales is to now look at things a lot closer in terms of data and actually what it's telling us. So just to give you a little bit of a starting point, we've got about 24,000 members in Wales, and about 36% of them, it's very funny sizing, I'm sorry about that, are female. So it's not quite 50-50, and we kind of thought, you know, we probably ought to do something about it, because we all know as sailors that sailing's pretty great. You know, there are opportunities. You know, we've spoken. You know, Susan spoke earlier talking about the opportunities she has as not only as a racing sailor but as an instructor as well. So there's some really cool things about sailing that we need to get more women involved with. So, bit of a look. You know, to be honest, should we be worried about 36%? It's pretty in line with the rest of the UK, but we thought we'd look a bit closer. So. It's a bit of a quiz, okay? There are over 8,500 people in Wales that have powerboat level 2. Now we think that is one of the key qualifications that people hold in small voluntary clubs that tells us how active they are. So 8,500. How many, bit of a guess out there, do you think of those 8,500 are women?
10%.
Give me a number.
10%. 400.
Bit more than 400.
8,000.
A little bit more. Bang on, 1,500. So it's not actually very many. You know, this is the sort of qualification that if you're in a small voluntary club, this is really important because it means that you're engaged with the club. Because if you club race in that sort of club, you want to go and take part, you want to go and help out on the water. So that's kind of telling us actually how active are women in clubs. And I think we started thinking on those lines because one of my colleagues actually sat there and said, you know, you're telling me there's 36% of our club membership are women. I'm the only woman on the start line at my club. That's not many. So we need to think about actually how active women are in clubs and actually how do we get more in at the bottom. Because we already know we've got something pretty fantastic. We're just not necessarily that great at telling everyone about it. That's fine. Okay, so this is where we came up with the Only Girls Afloat programme. It's a really, really flexible programme. It's about doing what's needed in your particular club or centre. It's either about getting new people in or actually looking at your own club membership, understanding your membership and getting them more active. It's about delivering training. Well, what we've asked people to be, if you want to deliver training, we want you to be an RYA training centre. But it's not just about that. It's about developing skills and confidence and actually having some fun and making it social. So if you're a club that's not a training centre but you want to do stuff that's social and do social sailing, that's great. You can be part of the programme because what we want to do is get more women taking part on a regular basis. So since we started in 2017, over 115 women and girls have taken part. What we've discovered is intergenerational. They want to bring their kids, they want to bring their aunties, they want to bring their grandparents. Everybody wants to come and take part together, have lots of fun. We're still looking for more clubs and centres to join up. You know, we've got 5 already signed up, another 3 in the pipeline. And we've got some amazing people today who are part of our sort of what we call our Only Girls Afloat agents, because we want them to be agents of change. So just to leave you on a thought, you know, we need to get more women and girls in, because actually, if we want to apply pressure at a high level, there's actually got to be that mass, that bulk of participation to apply that pressure at a high level. Because if there isn't women and girls to take the places on the Volvo Ocean Race, you know, how can we actually make that change? So it's a bit of a bit of a request really, to go away and think, how can you actually start to make that change in your club or your centre or however you're involved in the sport to make it better and more easy for women and girls to get involved.
Finally, I'd like to invite to the stage Josie Gliddon. Josie is one of the directors of the Magenta Project. She's actually a very good sailor herself. She's one of the only females on the moth start line, and I think she's normally the first one. Despite the fact that she's tiny, she somehow keeps that thing upright. And I've raced against Josie for a long time. She was actually an Olympic campaigner as well.
Okay, well, today was about inspiring generations and inspiring support, and I, like probably a few of the older generation here, was very much inspired by Tracy Edwards. I got to meet her when I was at university, and I was super excited that she was doing an evening at Oxford University where I was at, and I thought it was going to be absolutely heaving. 10 people turned up, and it was a very, very, very special evening for me because it was literally just 9 other people and me and Tracy Edwards. So that was hugely, hugely inspirational for me. Like Annie said, I did the Olympic thing. I got asked by my mother, do you want to be a boat owner or boat sailor? I said I want to be a boat owner. I'm not quite there yet other than my moth. I definitely want to go racing, yachts, and I'll come on to boat owners shortly, because perhaps that's where you can support us in the future as well. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the Magenta Project, why we're here, how the story began. It began about 4 years ago. What we are now doing with the Magenta Project, and how the story continues. So how the story began, I was very fortunate. I was at the finish line in Gothenburg, and I was super pumped that the SCA had come third in leg 8, and they'd also come, won leg 8 and come 3rd overall in the import racing. And like Annie was asking the 3 girls up here earlier, it's like, okay, so what next? Now, I wasn't as a pro sailor, so I wasn't thinking what next, and it was really evident for me that there was no answers, but yet their male counterparts were literally stepping onto the dock off their ocean race and into another professional sailing gig. And it was really sad to see, sad to see that the really, really incredible sailors that we have, and my friends and across the world, really didn't seem to have the same opportunities as their male counterparts. I think is even evident again today that is still the case. So I think there's a huge reason why we're all sat here today, and we think there is definitely a need for the Magenta Project. So there really was literally a blank space, and so the co-founders all came together and they formed the Magenta Project. So what was their mission? Well, I'm going to read it out, or at the bottom here, it's to be the worldwide organisation that enables women to have equal access and opportunities in the sport of sailing. And it's very much about getting and accelerating females up to the top of the sport. There are pockets of people doing very, very well at the top of the sports, but there really is not the quantity that and I'm sure most of you'd like to see. Example of that, I was racing, Annie mentioned, I raced the Moth. There was 250 Moth sailors at the World Championships last year. Any guess how many females were on that Starline 6? Yeah, so less than 3%. I am 53 kilos. I race against the likes of Tom Slingsby, Nathan Outridge, Pete Burling, etc., etc. Okay, I might not win races, but there's absolutely no reason why any other female cannot get on a Moth. What I think is pretty incredible is we've got a real worldwide momentum at the moment, and I really feel like we're literally on the tipping point to make this really, really, really big. And Luigi Liu from the Olympic gold medals really sums up what she sees the Magenta Project is, and I'm going to quote her directly. The Magenta Project means we can accumulate as much power and voice as possible for women's sport, especially sailing. We can raise awareness around the world in order to create more opportunities for women. So, that voice has been extremely influential since the inception of the Magenta Project. They've been very influential in the Volvo Ocean Race, changing the rule, and it's really great to hear that all teams have taken the opportunity to bring females to their boats. And I think both Libby and Abby, who are part of the Magenta Project, have got real pivotal roles. So it can happen, we can be at the top of the sport competing alongside our counterparts. There are other places where we've taken action and talked at forums, so the World Sailing Forum, Foiling Week, Yacht Race Forum, and also the Extreme Sailing Series. We've been instrumental in trying to change the rules to make it more capable that females can race alongside men. But of course we're not all talk, we do take action as well. And one of the things that we're really, really key is to go with the pathway. So some of you might be sitting in this room going, I really want to go sail on that Volvo, but I don't really know how I get from today to getting on my Volvo experience. And so a good example of this, Annie went and ran some Volvo Ocean Race clinics, and I think all of the people on there ended up actually getting a Volvo spot. So that's just instrumental that one of our clinics actually made the next step to someone else's dream. So we run these clinics in Magenta Days, what we call Magenta Days. So we effectively give opportunities to females across all generations, and we provide these clinics to give opportunities and confidence, and for people to go away and compete and have the ability to step up to the next level. And we've also got these Magenta Days that we come to clubs or regional level to provide coaching, and it's not just about the racing, it's also race management, because we're very, very keen to enhance the whole entire ecosystem of female sailing. We also have Team Magenta, so some people might sort of question what the difference between Magenta Project and Team Magenta. Well, we want more people at the top of our sport. So Team Magenta is about competing at the top of our sport. And so Team Magenta have been racing the M32s in the Match Race World Series. We've also been competing in the Extreme Sailing Series, and through opportunities, this is just Lily, she did have a crew with her at the time, but I didn't find a photo, competing in the Sydney Hobart race. This is a great example where there were 3 experienced people on board, and then we gave those 3 other spots to up-and-coming people, and we ran a competition to fill those spots. And the latest one we've got going on, which hasn't actually started yet, it's the New Caledonia race. Next week it starts with Sharon Ferris as skipper. The 4 other crew were also selected through a programme of ours, and they are the first all-females team to race the New Caledonia race, which starts next week, so good luck to them. So how does it all happen? Well, I'm really surprised how little money we've actually got in the bank account. It's absolutely incredible. Annie went and spoke to World Sailing and was asked, so how does it all happen? It's like, well, we rely hugely on collaboration with other people. I think one of the big successes of the Magenta Project is it's not about the Julie Jones show, because it's not about an individual, it's about all women across the globe competing at the highest level. Some of our opportunities have come about through individuals coming to us and say, hey, I've got a yacht and I really want to help you guys out, give opportunities to females across the globe. So Lisa Blair came to us and said, I've got a yacht, I want to sell Sydney Hobart. I want to sell on board, of course, but you know, I'd like to offer some spots to other females. So she's just one, and also Antonio here, who's Pasquale, who's given his boat for the New Caledonia race too. And we can't do that without all of these people and probably more. So Volvo Ocean Race, a big thank you to them today. We could not have put this event on. Hopefully a lot of you were hugely inspired by going out on the M32s, so a huge thank you to them. We couldn't have done it without them. Musto have been a sponsor of ours for many years, and they provide kit for the Magenta Project and also the Magenta team. Again, a huge, great logo, a great brand to be supporting our cause. The Maiden Factor, we've collaborated with the Maiden Factor, we helped them with some crew selection, and we will definitely continue to support that good cause going forwards. An individual in the room today, we've got Andrew Pindar. He's been a huge supporter of us, and we continue to work with him with the GAC Pindar. The host today, Cardiff Bay Yacht Club. Of course, we could not be here without their support. And also our volunteers. The RYA are a big endorser of ours. They're a big endorser of ours with the Magenta Days, and so we're going to be gearing that up next year with them. RYA Welsh Cymru Wales, is that one? Is that good enough? Cymru Wales? Okay.